It is day 255 of our 2020 Focused Bible reading, and here we are taking a look at Revelation chapter 15. Now, we had the segue, that kind of interlude material that was found in chapter 14. Now, chapter 15 is the introduction to the vision that we're going to continue to read 16, 17, 18. Again, it's one of those things where we have these in daily bites, one chapter at a time, not necessarily the best way to read Revelation. Because these are images that are going to be tied together as you go. So just remember, we're taking these in bites that are actually meant to be bigger. So it's like eating one spoonful of your Blizzard, your Dairy Queen Blizzard, and then putting in the fridge and then waiting tomorrow to have the next spoonful. Last time I checked, nobody eats a Blizzard that way. And that's not necessarily the way that these are supposed to be read, but we are trying to kind of work our way through each day with a chapter. So that's where we're at. And this is what we read. It says, I saw in heaven another great and marvelous sign, 7 angels with 7 last plagues, last because with them God's wrath is completed. And I saw what looked like a sea of glass glowing with fire, and standing beside the sea, those who had been victorious over the beast and its image, and over the number of its name. They held harps given them by God, and sang the song of God's servant Moses and of the Lamb. Great and marvelous are your deeds, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are your ways, King of the nations. Who will not fear you, Lord, and bring you glory to your name? For you alone are holy. All nations will come and worship before you, for your righteous acts have been revealed. After this I looked and saw in heaven the temple, that is, the tabernacle of the covenant law, and it was opened. Out of the temple came the 7 angels with the 7 plagues. They were dressed in clean, shining linen, and wore golden sashes around their chests. Then one of the 4 living creatures gave to the 7 angels 7 golden bowls filled with the wrath of God, who lives forever and ever. And the temple was filled with smoke from the glory of God and from his power, and no one could enter the temple until the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were completed. All right, so what we have here is like I said, just kind of the introduction, but it's tying things together as again, you have these kind of Exodus kind of images. I saw what looked like a sea of glass glowing with fire, and standing beside the sea, those who had been victorious over the beast and its image, and over the number of its name. This idea of the children of Israel were rescued due to the sea. So there is this kind of sea, the sea of glass, which is, we tend to think of it as, oh, it's made of glass. No. It's like glass. It's smooth. It's not rough. It's not chaos. When we're talking about the sea, when it comes to the book of Revelation, it's either non-existent, which is what we find at the end, or if it is existing, it's this calm, placid, because God overcomes the chaos. And so it's part of this metaphor of them being rescued. And they're the one holding the harp, singing their song, and they sing yet another song. And they give praise to God. And what you have here is again, you have a mashup of a variety of different Old Testament texts out of the book of Psalms. If you actually have Bible Gateway and you're using that, and you have the little footnote option on, which I think is, it's up here in this kind of system dialogue. You can tell it to let me know what footnotes, and it'll highlight those footnotes for you, and you can see that as you go through. That's just a translation. Nations also can be translated ages. So that's what that footnote is. But this footnote here under B, if you go down to the bottom, you'll see that Revelation 15:4 phrases in this song are drawn from Psalm 111, Deuteronomy 32, Jeremiah 10:7, Psalms 86, and Psalm 98. All right, so these are not things that John is just creating from scratch. He is again combining the common language that people would know, because even the early Christians, even the Gentile Christians, would have learned the Old Testament scriptures. That was their scriptures. Yes, they had letters and the writings of the apostles. At this time period, they probably had the Gospels themselves. But here we have, he's drawing from the imagery of the Old Testament, which they would have known because those would have been the scriptures that Jesus used. And so that would have been a basis on which they understood their faith. And in the ancient world, they would have taken that very seriously, and they knew their Old Testament better than we know our New Testament. And so they understood this imagery that keeps coming out. And you also have within here the Song of Moses. So, again, that connection with another Exodus, another rescuing of God's people. And now out of the temple came 7 angels with 7 plagues. And you are going to find out in the next chapter, because this is just the introduction. I almost wish they would have combined 15 and 16, because they really do and are meant to flow together. But that's all we have for now. So we will see you tomorrow as we look at 16.